Since people always accuse me of being a harebrained dreamer, I've tried to come up with something approaching a practical suggestion, and I took this need to the feet of the mushroom gods. Having been challenged by somebody at a talk like this, they said, well, you're always saying these mushrooms speak. Why don't you ask them how to save the world? And I thought this was kind of disingenuous, but the next time I had the telephone to hyperspace in my hot hand, I did make the inquiry. And the suggestion which came back, I think, is at least food for thought. The suggestion was, you want to save the world? You want to overcome male dominance, the momentum of consumerism, so forth and so on. Every woman should bear only one natural child. This is an interesting idea, whether you take it seriously as program or not. If every woman were to commit herself to bearing only one natural child, the population of the earth would fall by 50% in 40 years without war or famine or epidemic disease. If this program were continued for another 40 years, the population would fall by half again. This means in 80 years, the population of the planet could be reduced 75%. Why have we not heard anything about this, even for it to be denounced? I'm not saying it has to be embraced, but why isn't it a tiny fanatical minority advocating this? I think it's because it's inconceivable in this society to try and practice capitalism in a situation of retreating demographics. A woman in Bangladesh, well, let's put it this way, a woman on the Upper East Side who has a child, that child will have 1,000 times greater negative impact on the resources of the earth than a woman born to a child in Bangladesh. Where do we preach population control? Bangladesh, of course. If you were to go to Bangladesh and meet a woman who told you that her life's ambition was to have 1,000 children, you'd think you were confronting a social criminal of some sort, some kind of complete sociopath. But in fact, a woman in Beverly Hills or on the Upper East Side who decides to have one child is in that category. Now, interestingly, if we want to change the world, then we need to reach those women. And interestingly, they are the women that one would be most likely to reach. They're college educated, they're socially concerned, they're aware of the concept of political correctness, so forth and so on. They should be easy to convince. And you don't have to have 100% conviction. If you get 15% compliance, there would probably be an immediate easing on the pressure on resources, and so forth and so on. Another interesting thing about this possibility is that it requires remarkably little input from men. It's the first plan for saving the world that I've ever encountered that isn't in the hands of white guys. You see? Now, people object to this by saying that you don't understand. Numbers are power. A political power base is defined by numbers. But this can't be true. If that were true, China would be the most powerful nation in the world, with India second. So that isn't it. I'm in awe of the mushroom's cleverness, because what this suggestion seems to imply is that we can serve ourselves and serve humanity without any kind of conflict. Because one could go to this hypothetical woman on the Upper East Side and say, how would you like to have a vastly expanded disposable income and a tremendously larger amount of leisure time and authentic status as a political hero at the forefront of the battle to save the planet. For crying out loud. You know, be richer, make your life easier, and be a hero. You can hardly miss. Now, why are we not hearing about this from any quarter of society? Because I think most people think, actually, that there are no solutions. They think we're just going to run this baby right over the edge of the cliff and that'll be the end of it. Well, when you point out that something as simple, as voluntary, as limiting your reproductive replacement to one child would chop the population of the earth in half in 50 years, people are stunned. You know, they never thought of that. These kinds of things need to be considered. Now, when I ask myself, why aren't people embracing this, and this goes back to what I said before the break, I think they're not embracing it because probably white guys can't figure out how to make a buck in a situation of collapsing demographics like that. Capitalism views us all as consumers. And it wants more consumers. The more consumers there are, the scarcer stuff will be. The scarcer stuff is, the more you can charge for it. The last barrels of petroleum will probably be sold for $50,000 a throw. Well, then if you really want to do something, no political act you would ever commit yourself to would have the positive consequences for suffering humanity that deciding to limit your reproductive ability would have. The thing I like about this suggestion from the mushroom is that it's non-coercive. We can think of many plans to save the world if they would just give us absolute power to order everybody around. But here's a plan where men really recede into the background. Now, women have always, within the context of modern feminism, have lamented their powerlessness to do anything about the male-dominated world. Here's something that they could do that would place them at the cutting edge of the reshaping of planetary civilization. And they don't have to get permission from anybody. So, what about it?